And Dr. Dyer joins us from Hawaii. And how are things over there, Dr. Dyer? You doing okay?
I'm doing fine. It's Monday morning over here in Maui.
What else can you say about Monday, right?
Right. And I just had a 2-hour massage with Dee, so that was
You're relaxed.
I'm trying to do that at least twice a week now, and I find that's one of the great experiences.
Good advice.
Yeah, it's it's more than just relaxing of the muscles and so on. I just think there's something about massage that just gets the energy going right in your body. We used to talk about Bob Hope. Remember the Bob Hope? He used to get a massage every single day, and he lived to be 100. So I guess
he was onto something, maybe.
maybe I don't know, but it moves the chi around certainly, and it's just sort of reinvigorates you, and it also I think gets the blood going in your body so that your mind starts working.
Sure, pushes out toxins. It's great. I mean, and even just to give yourself that respite, that little treat. I mean, I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves and we don't rest, and it's important. We're certainly not sleeping. I mean, I think people are more sleep deprived now than ever. So just to give yourself that time is great.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. I've also been rereading I've got the finished copy of Wishes Fulfilled, which will be out in the early next spring. And also preparing to think about how I'm going to present this to a public television audience, which I'm recording in October in San Diego. So I've been this is the first book that I've ever written that I read for pleasure. Rather than read for editorial purposes and seeing if it all fits together right and so on. I just set it down in front of me, a place where I sit in my living room, and I read 4 or 5 pages a day, and just try to take it in and what it all means. And I'm thinking about the reader as I do it, and applying this. And I've been going through this whole concept of the higher self and the highest self, and the idea that we are all God, that we all have, we're all connected to this divine source, and that every thought that we think is really a thought of God when it's aligned, with love and purpose and kindness and so on. So just thinking in those kinds of ways and trying to put it out on public television so it doesn't appear to be a religious talk, because PBS has some government funding and so on, that separation business. So that's what I've been thinking about, and making it all come together in one great package, because basically it's taking these 5 principles that Neville talked about in his work, the power of our imagination and living from the end and assuming a feeling of a wish fulfilled within ourselves, how we pay attention, and also what we do the last 5 minutes of our day to program our subconscious mind. And it's really, I'm just loving this book. It's I look at all my books sort of like my children. I don't love one of them any more than the other. I love them all for the uniqueness that they are. But this book gives me just great pleasure to read, because I think that a lot of people out there, when they look at the content of this and when they see the public television special and when they hear some of the tapes, are going to be able to just take it right from there and begin to apply it. I was talking to Reed this morning, your president of Hay House and one of my best friends, and he was saying, because I talk about the I ams a lot, that I am is the name of God, and he said, I don't know about other people. He said, but I use it every day. He said, I apply it and I just put into my consciousness, I am, and I say it over and over again, and I assume the feeling of that in my body. And he said, and it works. He said, it's been working for me in all kinds of ways. So if it can work for him, it can work for anyone.
I'll have to ask Reed about that.
Yeah, right.
That's great. Well, I think people are going to be very excited to get this book. I know we've had a lot of interest, some calls and emails, and the taping here are just sold out. I don't know. I might have to use some influence and say, Reed, can you hook me up for this?
A ticket?
Yeah, for the PBS taping. I'm looking forward to it, and I think that the message is really going to be welcome. People want to know that you're kind of putting the power back in their hands, and that people can attract what they want into their life. And
The
You know,
hardest thing
especially
for
now, it's
people,
so
the
important.
hardest thing, it's for us, for all of us, is this idea of ignoring what the senses tell us, because we go through our days, we go through our life, and we pay attention to what we see and what we touch and what we feel and what we smell, and that becomes our reality, and we think that that's the only reality that there is. If I can touch it, if I can see it, if I can grab a hold of it, I can smell it, then that makes it real. And if I can't, then it's unreal. And what this is really about is understanding the power of our imagination, so that when we put an I mean, let's just say you've got you've got a cold or you've got a flu or something like that, and if you're putting into your imagination, I am well, I am perfect health, I am well. But you watch your nose and it sneezes and it's running, and you got a fever, and you're tired and all of that. The concept of being able to say I am well and living from that place in your imagination, it's like it's so foreign to us, because we're just so convinced that what our senses tell us is the only reality that there is. And what this is really all about is being able to live from the end and put it into your imagination. And regardless of what your senses tell you, regardless of what it says on the internet, regardless of what information people are sending to you, regardless of what it says on TV or articles that you read or whatever it is, whatever I am you would like to have, including I am prosperous, I am abundant, and you look at your bank book and you say there's nothing in it, and and I've got bills, and how can I go around saying I am prosperous when these are all the, but it's being able to place into your imagination that I am realizing that the words I am really are the name of God, and to say I am prosperous rather than I will be, because to say I will be prosperous or I will be healthy means to say that I don't have that now, and I don't, and it's something that maybe will come in the future. And until you can assume a feeling of something in your imagination and just live with it, regardless of what all of the other physical evidence says, because basically what we learn is that the physical world is just an illusion, that it's what's in our imagination that is the real, the real truth. And that's just such a hard one for all of us, including me.
It
But
really
it's,
is.
yeah, but I've been practicing it, and I've done it so many times in my life. Being able to say like I always give the example of when I'm writing a book, I have the jacket of the book already made in advance, long before I ever write the first word, and I wrap it around another book, and it's right in my writing space. And every day I already say that this is already complete, because I'm looking at it. So all I have to do now is just allow it to all flow through me, and that's getting into that place of allowing and beginning to forget about what the physical world is, what all of your past experience has told you, what your whole history has told you, letting go of all of that, and to be able to say, I am well, I am happy, I am content. In the Bible, in the book of Joel, there's a wonderful line that says, let the weak man say, I am strong. And being able to say it and feel it and know it, and then you begin to align with the universal force that brings it into being. So it's the power of our thoughts and the power of our imagination that I really want to have people begin to see what they can do with it, rather
Right.
than
Could be a
rather
great
than.
point of change. You know what's hard for me sometimes to get around is, I've heard you talk about that we're all a piece of God and we come from a divine
Mm-hmm.
source. And I really want to believe that. And just looking at it, sometimes it's hard to believe humans are divine. It really is. When you look at what's going on around the world, and, in Syria and Libya, and people are starving, and in Somalia, and when there's so much abundance in other places, why can't there just be enough for everyone? And sometimes you get overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's because there's so many places in the world where people have forgotten, that we're all about love. When there's this whole idea of being pieces of pieces of God, it isn't just exclusive to those people who are living here in the United States or whatever. it's having an awareness that reaching out and serving and being able to help other people is part of it's what Lao Tzu called our original nature. And when enough of us begin to do this, we won't allow for starvation. We won't allow. We'll stop. We'll stop making weapons. I mean, stop focusing our attention on what we don't like about each other and how we can kill each other, and we'll put our attention back on what it means to be in a state of pure love. And even though, I mean, the fact is that for every act of evil in the world, there's like a million acts of kindness, and basically people's, they just had. Did you see the thing in Indianapolis where they had that stage just
stage collapse
and so on?
It's horrible.
And the governor of Indiana, I mean, 5 people were killed and so on. And these kinds of things happen. I mean, it was nobody's fault. It's just big windstorm came along and this thing came. But the governor got up there and just noticed how everybody in the crowd was risking their own lives to save strangers. They were holding things up and reaching in there when they could have jeopardized their life, and he was touched by that. And that's my prominent memory of 9/11, which will have its 10-year anniversary in another couple of weeks, is how people were rushing in to serve and rushing in to help, and people were getting into their fire trucks in Iowa and driving them to New York just to be of service to people. That our basic instinctive nature, all of us, whether we're here in the United States, whether we're in Libya, wherever it is, our basic nature is to serve each other, to care about each other, to reach out to each other, and we've let that. I don't know. We've sort of let that slide in the name of winning, in the name of being right, in the name of killing, and so on. And it's the hardest thing for highly spiritual people to understand. I've always said, for me, the thing that is the great mystery that I will take to my grave is man's inhumanity to man. It just doesn't ever make sense to me that we would do things to harm each other, that we would, and I mean in all levels. I don't understand companies, banks, airlines, and so on doing things to be abusive towards their customers. I don't understand the pharmaceutical industry. I just saw a big story in the paper yesterday about the FDA they've studied OxyContin now for 12 years. 12 years they've done studies on this, and they said it's the second most abused drug in the United States. And how many people are dying from it? How many people are committing suicide? And how many in emergency rooms are filled? All the emergency room doctors in the country are asking them to please recategorize this drug to something called Category 2, Schedule 2, so that it isn't so available, that people aren't prescribing it so much, because there's so many deaths associated with it and so much addiction around it. And yet the FDA simply, they won't do it because they're in bed with the pharmaceutical industry and the lobbyists, and that will cost them money to reschedule that and to not make it so available. That, to me, that's man's inhumanity to man. That's no different than what's going on in Syria, to me. I mean, it's just people dying because they're overdosing on pills because we won't restrict them is, to me, no different than people picking up guns and shooting at each other in the streets. It's our inhumanity to man. It's our inability to find the kindness within ourselves and know that that's the God within all of us. And basically, that's our nature. That's what we were born with. That's what we came from. Wherever we were born, whether we were born as a Taliban little baby, we were still born with love in our hearts. That's where we were. And all the rest of that is the training. And I guess that's what my life mission's about. Reading Anita's book, Anita Moorjani, book, Dying to Be Me, which I'm writing, I just wrote the foreword to. That's what she learned when she was in that near-death experience. It's like, come back and just be an instrument of love. Be an instrument of love. That's what everybody learns when they go to the synagogue or when they go to the mosque or when they go to the church on holy days, and then they go out and don't practice it. If enough of us practice it, I still believe that, I guess, even at age 71, that I can still make that kind of a difference in the world, to teach people to find that love in their heart and extend it and just keep practicing it. I've quoted many times the Dalai Lama, who said that if we could take every child at the age of 5 and have them just meditate for 1 hour a week on compassion, that we could end all violence on the planet in one generation. Just by taking young children and teaching them to think compassion rather than to think competition and winning and being better than.
Right. That's so true. Well, I try to think about that whenever I hear of a horrible thing like Osama bin Laden or a child molester. I try to think, well, that person was once an innocent, loving baby, like you said, and whatever happened to them after that.
Yes, and that's where we have to find. We have to be able to find that. That's the importance of forgiveness and loving our enemies and loving people that we think are different than us. Just becoming instruments of love. It's like Jesus' word in the New Testament in the book of John. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in me, and I in him. All you have to do to know that you are God is to be in a state of love. And whenever you're in it, you are God. Whenever you're out of it, you've edged God out, and that's the ego, ego, edging God out.
I always wonder what's happening back home in Florida. So let's go to Florida, to Delray Beach, line 2, and Lori. And Lori, welcome to the show. You're on with Dr. Dyer today.
You must have heard me. When you said, who should I pick, I was like, me. Thank you.
How are you, Lori?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Okay, I have a question about I'm married.
You're very close to all my kids. They're all right around you. You guys got a Hurricane Irene heading your way or something, they tell me. Is that right?
Oh, I didn't hear about that. Is that a new one?
Yeah, that's supposed to be there Thursday, so you better start worrying now.
I better start watching the news right
Worry. Come on, get some stress going there, and then maybe you'll change the course of that thing.
Okay, well, my question is, I'm married for 15 years, and I think it's time that I need to leave my husband. And I have a lot of guilt, and I feel like a horrible person for doing that. And especially that I've been following you for so long, and I'm very spiritual, and I guess I was able to connect with him in a very spiritual level. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't feel right to do, but like intellectually, I know I have to. He's very like verbally abusive, controlling. I have a 7-year-old son, and he's very, controlling with him too. Mm-hmm. And I'm really confused. I know that you're going to have something wonderful to say, I think. I hope.
Mm-hmm. Does are there drinking or drugs involved in any of this? Is there?
No. Mm-mm.
No.
With him,
so,
no.
Well, what caused that? Because there was a time when you were very much in love and you connected on a spiritual basis. What took place? What went on there?
I think when we connected, I was able to ignore his controlling behaviors because, like I said, I'm very spiritual, so I kind of let it go. I didn't argue. And then when we had our child, it's a little bit harder to do that. Mm-hmm. So I changed because I'm more in the protective mode. But before my child came, I was in the protective mode with him. Mm-hmm. I kind of took like the mother role.
Yeah. What is the what's the hardest thing about being with him?
That I can't be myself.
Hmm. And what would being yourself be? How would that look?
I would have my opinions. I wouldn't have to worry about him exploding. Mm-hmm. I could be a good mom like I want to be. I think he feels very jealous over that.
Hmm. What do you think's going on in him that he explodes when you are yourself?
Well, that's the problem. I think that he feels threatened. I think he's very insecure, and even though he shows that he's very intelligent and very secure, but I think underneath that I see that insecurity, and I feel bad for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard to, this. I think, are you seeing a therapist? Are you seeing a counselor of any? Have you talked about this?
I've been seeing her for so long, and she kind of never gave her opinion before, but now, she knows him too, and now she's at the point where she tells me that it's abusive. She doesn't supposed to give her opinion, but she does say that it's abusive for me and my son. And, especially for my son, I need to get out. It's verbal abuse.
Yeah.
Is what she says. And I know that's what I mean. Intellectually, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel very guilty. And I don't know if my guilt stems from being fearful, because I always worked part-time when I was married to him. But the other thing is that I've grown so much with your work. And then as soon as I met him, it all stopped. It just all...
Yeah. Have you made up your mind that this is what you're going to do? I mean, that you don't, because there's
Made up my
really,
mind.
I mean, you have.
Yeah, but I can't do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
I
what has
feel
kept
like
you?
Yeah.
What's kept you from making that move?
I'm scared and I feel guilty. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how he's going to react.
Have you ever mentioned it to him?
That I want to leave. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You have.
Yeah, we spoke. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He even agrees with it that we don't get along well. And then when I actually, start with the plans to do it, then he breaks down and he wants one more chance and he's going to change. And
Are you seeing someone else?
no. No.
You sure?
Yeah, positive. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is he?
No. Mm-mm.
No. Well, I mean, the guilt and first of all, I don't think anybody needs to be in a relationship and to be abused in any way, to be yelled at, to be verbally assaulted in any way. Is he physically abusive at all?
One time he kind of jumped on me was when, I think it was like when I gave my opinion. See, he gets very threatened when I give my opinion. So I've learned to not give it, just knowing that he can't accept it. So now that I'm starting to give it more, he gets more. I think possibly he could turn to that because he does get very angry.
Mm-hmm.
So one time he jumped on me, but that was only one time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just not healthy. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for my son.
Right. So if you separate, will you take your son with you?
Of course, I want to. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And will he cooperate with that?
I don't know.
Okay. So you're really in a quandary, and you're thinking about this a lot. And see,
All the time. Oh.
Yeah. This is what I think. It's like when something is so predominant in your life that you can hardly think about anything else. It probably fills you. You probably even dream about it, and your days are always filled with what's this going to be like? How is this? And almost always the fear inside is way worse than the actual reality. And if this is something you've talked to a therapist about and you've made up your mind about and you just know that, then you can just go on. What I would recommend is you go on a trial separation, regardless of whether he says he's going to change or whatever. Just work out the details of a trial separation, but try to do it with kindness. Try to do it in your heart with love, and just let him know that, like, this is, at this time in our lives, this is, I'm not happy, you're not happy, and very often a trial separation will one way or another bring about the kind of result that you're looking for, and that's because it's your guilt and your worry and your fear. I mean, that's going to be deleterious to your health. You're going to start getting sick.
I'm starting already. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll start. Your body will start breaking down. Become more stressful. The thoughts of all of this. Your immune system becomes affected, and all of this. And you don't. That just doesn't have to be the way it is.
Right.
I would just. I would take the steps to do that. If it's now just verbal abuse, it's and occasionally gets a little bit physical. Ultimately, you're heading for some kind of a disaster. And I keep thinking about your little boy. What is how is he being torn in the midst of all of this? And
right.
I can remember, And I've done a lot of marriage counseling, a lot of marriage therapy, and even in my own life, and that whole fear of feeling guilty about it and leaving and should I or shouldn't I? But if you're absolutely knowing in your heart that this is not where you belong, and you absolutely are convinced of this, and you're sure, then the thing to eliminate all of this stress and anxiety is to take that step. Just to take the step and make it happen. Take whatever steps it's going to take for you to, get yourself a place or move in with your mother or whatever it is that you're going to do, however you're going to handle that. And just each time you take one of those steps, you're going to be, you're going to take such a pressure off of yourself. And the fact of you doing this might, in fact, help your husband to come around and realize that his behavior is just no longer acceptable.